A report has come out that indicates the Toronto Raptors front office is uncertain with the current roster construction. So we'll break down what that means for the team going forward, as well as a Bleacher Report trade that's making its way around Toronto Raptors land, and an interesting stat that might keep you from losing hope in Malachi Flynn, at least just yet. So a bunch of stuff to break down. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Hello everybody, Ben and Aldris here, the Raptors Digest, breaking down the latest Toronto Raptors news. And folks, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, you're enjoying the pretty well daily content we have going surrounding the Toronto Raptors, definitely hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me, and it keeps you updated on everything surrounding this team. But we got a lot of stuff to break down. The first thing we're taking a look at is the Toronto Raptors front office, uncertain in terms of the team's direction. Now, there's been a bunch of rumors starting to pick up over the past week or so surrounding this Raptors team, and that's just given with what happens this time of year. End of November, early December, that's when trade rumors, trade speculation starts to pick up, because front offices have a decent sample size in terms of what they've seen from their team, and they can figure out, oh, if we fill this hole here, then we can improve this team, or they have those situations. So this is the time of year trade speculation starts to pick up. However, this Raptors team is currently uncertain in the current roster, and Doug Smith came out with an article breaking it all down. And I have a little excerpt from it today, essentially saying that it's come up in the past in a couple of private conversations over the past few days that they just don't know enough to make informed moves. The 20-game mark is generally accepted around the league as the time a team takes full stock, and at the end of November starts the unofficial beginning of the NBA trade season. And the Toronto Raptors aren't entirely sure what to do. And Smith goes on in the article to describe everything that we've been covering on this channel, with all of the injuries the Toronto Raptors have sustained and the question marks that they still have to figure out in terms of who's going to get what contracts. You know, you don't want to let players walk for nothing in free agency. So there's a lot of those big decisions that have to be made. And the Toronto Raptors front office are just straight up uncertain at this point, because we haven't had that decent sample size that most teams have had to get a good gauge, to get a good feel on what this Toronto Raptors roster can actually do. Now, some people might say, well, we didn't make any major moves the off season, so maybe you could look at last year's sort of performance, last year's games, and use that as a bit of your sample size. And while I definitely agree on that front, last year we had some clear holes that we thought we filled this off season in terms of bench production and stuff. Otto Porter Jr. was a big signing to sort of fit that hole, and then we're hoping players could potentially develop into guys that would keep our depleted bench, even when we were fully healthy last season, to something that was actually productive. But this year, we haven't actually got to see this Raptors team once. Really, I don't recall a game where we've not even only had one player out, but two players out on any given night. So it's tough, and as Doug Smith, like the direct quote in here is that the Toronto Raptors just aren't entirely sure what to do. Right? They don't have enough data. They don't have enough information to make informed decisions. So for everyone calling for trades and stuff and speculating about all these rumors that are going on at this point, while we can't guarantee that this Raptors team will ever be healthy prior to this year's trade deadline, I don't think the Raptors will make a move, even if it seems like should be some immediate changes that need to be solved or immediate holes that need to be fixed. I think given this report, we're going to have to wait a few weeks at least to see, if the Raptors, one, can get healthy, and two, how they are looking, how they're feeling when they're actually out there on the court altogether. Now, this also means some younger guys, some lower tier guys are getting more opportunities. So maybe it's more advantageous for them to get some opportunity and stuff. But, unless the stars come back, especially like guys like Gary and stuff, and they complement each other, I don't see a big move happening on that front until we at least get to see a couple weeks of this team playing at full force. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think a move is coming down soon? And will we ever get this team back healthy? But the next thing we're discussing in this vid is an interesting Bleacher Report trade that has a few people talking in terms of should the Toronto Raptors make this move. Now, Bleacher Report trades are infamously, notoriously getting Golden Kazoo awards on this podcast because they're usually trash. And this one is still impossible. They messed up. They added DJ Wilson. I'll just pull it up. I'll pull up the Bleacher Report trade. Essentially, the Toronto Raptors received Josh Richardson from the San Antonio Spurs, and the San Antonio Spurs received Malachi Flynn, Khem Birch, Apparently, they get DJ Wilson and a couple of second-round picks. And their logic for this trade is that another potential home for Richardson is outside the United States, as the Raptors bench continues to lack real depth on the wing. Richardson becomes a primary backup to Gary Trent Jr., or he makes a case to be the starting shooting guard if Trent can provide instant offense as a sixth man. The Spurs do the deal primarily to get cash and on a pair of a second-round picks, Malachi Flynn is an option, all that sort of stuff. So that's the logic behind the Bleacher Report trade. And they're definitely shooting themselves in the foot, because I don't think this is a horrible trade, but what do you add in DJ Wilson? A guy that's not even on our roster. This was published November 23rd, on my birthday, yesterday, right? DJ Wilson's been gone for this roster for over a month, so silliness there. But assuming you have Wilson out, I don't know if you have to really add anyone back in. Josh Richardson would be a really nice guy to come in and fill a hole on the bench for this Raptors squad, regardless of how you feel about Gary Trent Jr., because you look at his stats for this season. They haven't been horrible by any means, even though he's never really taken that jump some people expected him to do early in his career. 10 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists per game, 0.7 steals. He's a solid on-ball defender. The field goal percentage is not too hot at hovering around 40, but 36% from the three-point line. That's gone up and down over the course of his career. I think in Toronto, you get a few more open looks, but just a solid guy that could be a reliable bench role piece. And the Toronto Raptors, especially given all of our injuries to start off this season, could definitely use a guy like Josh Richardson, because one, he'd actually get minutes on a Raptor squad. What does Nick Nurse love? People that can play defense, right? You're not fitting in with this team if you're not playing defense. And one thing that Josh Richardson does is play some solid on-ball defense. He's not getting steals like a prime Gary or Fred VanVleet or OG Anunoby, but he stays in front. He's a strong guy, so he'll definitely get on the court on that front. And he can actually space the floor. 36%, it's not going to blow you away, but it's better than a lot of the 3-and-D wings we've had in the past for the Toronto Raptors. And him coming off the bench, being a reliable piece, I think it could be a cool fit. So let me know if you guys think the Raptors should make a deal for Josh Richardson. Obviously, it's a hypothetical trade. Usually we're out here roasting Bleacher Report moves. They did add DJ Wilson to it, but let me know if you guys would like the Raptors to target Josh Richardson. The next thing we're taking a look at, a guy that was in this specific deal I just brought up, but why there's still hope for Malachi Flynn. Now, Flynn was taking some serious criticism over yesterday's performance. He got the start, and people said Malachi Flynn, there's no one more garbage. There's no one more trash than Malachi Flynn than when he actually gets an opportunity in the Raptors rotation. And this made me think. This made me wonder, because I've seen Malachi Flynn have some solid nights. Now, even when he gets some decent minutes, a lot of his points do often come in garbage time and all that sort of stuff. But that's where he's really gotten most of his opportunities for this Raptors team in years past. But I wanted to take a little deep dive, so I went on StatMuse, and I just wanted to see how Malachi Flynn has performed in games where he's gotten over 20 minutes per night, where he's gotten over 20 minutes of action in just, this most recent calendar year in 2022, right? So from January 1st, 2022 to now. And Malachi Flynn surprised me, because I wasn't sure. I was unsure on the take. I wanted to see how he really performed in these big moment times, and I thought, honestly, the stats would be a lot worse, but he's had some pretty solid games. You can see it here now. Like, obviously last night against Brooklyn, 8 points on 25% shooting. That's not very solid. And I guess 4 of his last 5 games haven't been efficient nights. 28%, 33%, not that great. 3 of 9 is not horrible, but before that, though, Malachi Flynn has had some big scoring outputs on pretty relatively efficient shooting, like 17, 10, 20, 11, 15, 18, 8, 11 points per game, all on shooting splits that are higher than 50% from the field on any given night. The 3-point percentage also looks pretty solid in games where he has a little bit of a rhythm, so he's also a guy that can facilitate, right? In these matchups, lots of 4, 5, 8, assists per game or assist nights. So Malachi Flynn, when he's gotten some opportunity, just in those sample size, right? We're not talking games where he's gotten less than 20 minutes, but when he's actually gotten some actual opportunity, he's been solid at producing, at least on the offensive end. But the big question is, can he defend at the level to actually get minutes on a Raptor squad? And that's where You could make the argument, it just makes sense to cut him loose and trade him for a guy like Josh Richardson. But I don't want to... I think the narrative has really swayed, especially after last night, that Malachi Flynn is just some garbage basketball player. He's by no means that. The fit is a question mark for sure, but don't lose hope in Malachi Flynn just yet. Don't throw him completely under the bus. I want to throw some positivity on Malachi Flynn's name after a lot of the hate he was receiving last night. But the final thing we're discussing in this video is Chris Boucher being a great teammate. Being a great teammate. My grammar is horrible, but it is what it is. But he had Christian Coloco on his Yahoo Sports podcast. I don't know the official name of it, but had him on and let people know that wild fine that Christian Coloco had when he was attacked by Caleb Martin and then was dragged into the stands by him. When Christian Coloco had to pay that fine, it was actually Chris Boucher who had the money. Chris Boucher just got a big contract this offseason, said, Rook, I'll pay for your contract. That's a lot of money for our rookie contract, a second round pick. So I'll throw over the cash for you. And so good guy, Chris Boucher. Love to see that. But folks, you guys are best to make this far. As said at the beginning of the video, subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying all the daily content. You guys are best. I'm signing out. Cheers.